A little wet. Why do we keep going camping when it's raining? I don't understand. And isn't this Texas? Isn't Texas supposed to be blue skies and open range? And wait, now we have mountains and a river and it's wet. This isn't Texas.
We checked off another state park in Texas when we spent 2 days at Colorado Bend State Park, just outside of Bend, Texas, and along the Colorado River. We spent one very rainy day and one beautifully sunny day.
Can you tell which is which?
This is being shot on the second day.
Because we really couldn't do much on the first day. I mean, we did a lot on the first day, but it was hard to film on the first day because it was so cold and rainy. And not what we expected when we booked this trip like 2 months ago when we said, yes, by end of March, it's going to be gorgeous and nice and hot, and it wasn't.
No, it rained a lot yesterday, but we still got some trails in, and it was a great day for us to go underground, which we did when we did a cave tour.
Which we'll get to in a minute. But yes, it worked out well. Everything we did yesterday, we just ended up soaked and muddy in the process.
Yes. And we did end up camping here. There is a rustic campground. There's 47 or so sites. A lot of tenting here. Most of the sites are set up for tenting. What do we say? 8 sites for RVs?
I think that's it. And it's all rustic.
It's all rustic. There's no hookups. There's no electric, no water. There's not even a dump station here. So you are on your own when you're out here. So you got to be prepared for that. And this
water spigot. There is water spigots. There's just no like water hookup.
Good point. Okay, so there's water, especially if you're coming out tenting and you need water. But it's a rustic campground. It was really nice. It's peaceful out here. It's right along the Colorado River. The sites, even for RVs, are not huge. So we said, maybe 25 feet, 27?
It's not going to be much more than that. I mean, everybody we saw here was in some sort of camper van, 2 very tiny trailers, and the other hardy souls that were tenting in a downpour.
But if you had a, kind of mid-size Class C, you could fit it in here. Or if you had a shorter trailer, and depending on how big your truck is that you're hauling it with, it would fit. But lots of tent sites as well. And some really nice ones. We were in the RV sites kind of up above the river. And then down below us in the river bottom, there's actually tent sites right along the river. So those would be pretty.
Yeah, those would be gorgeous on a not downpouring day. Like today, it would be great. I love those spots.
Last night, I don't think they were appreciating it all that much.
No, and I think that's why the camp was so empty. I think they had a lot of people. They had a lot of no-shows because I think every site had a reserved sign on it, and yet I'm pretty sure there were only like 10 of us in the park.
This can get filled up pretty quickly. They do say that in the summertime especially, they hit capacity here pretty quick, so you got to plan ahead if you're going to be coming out here.
No matter whether you're in a tent or in an RV, and no matter the weather, you are going to be prepared for a drive from the park entrance to the campground, because I don't know the mileage exactly, but it's about a 20 to a 25-minute drive from the entrance to the headquarters, and the headquarters is also where like the campground is and some of the trails. And so they do tell you that if you have reservations for any of the tours, be prepared to drive not only from that park entrance, but from the other parking lots throughout the park, because it's going to take you a while to get down to the campground. And vice versa, if you are going hiking, at any point, know that you have to drive pretty much to most of the trailheads, other than the one that's right directly from the campground. So make sure that you have a vehicle with you, a second vehicle if it's like a Class C, or know that you are going to be driving your vehicle pretty much everywhere here in the park.
And getting in and out of here, it's a curvy road. There's some pretty good hills on it. It's 20 miles an hour. That's why they say from the park entrance to headquarters is 20 minutes. They say on average.
And we read the thing that said when you're coming in, if it is heavy rain and storm, be prepared to evacuate the park or get stuck in the park, because the initial road is right at water level with this creek and it's going to flood. So there was a sign about be prepared to leave the park.
Or be prepared to stay.
One of the two.
Until the water recedes. This is a good-sized park overall, whether you're driving through it or whether you're hiking it. I think it's a little over 5,300 acres. The state of Texas acquired the land, some of it in 1984, some of it in 87, and it just opened the park in 88, which I was going to say isn't that long ago, but I guess as I'm getting older, that's getting to be a long time ago.
But when we think of, say, like Garner State Park, which opened in 1940s, 1940 to 1980, I mean, that's all 40 years before this one opened. So there is quite a discrepancy.
There is. And they purchased the land. There were 2 families, Lemons and Gorman. That was the 2 families that had ranches here. And you read something before that even. It was some sort of cedar camp?
Well, it's the Cedar Choppers, and that's what the Cedar Chopper Loop is for. And it was a community that sprung up around cutting down the cedar slash ash juniper, however you want to call them here, because that was used in a lot of lumber. And so the trees were cut down and then hauled away by railroad, and then they were used in a lot of construction because they're pretty hardy trees. And you also see them for fence posts around Texas. That's what the farmers and the ranchers use to build their cattle ranch fences, and then with the old barbed wire. So you do see a lot of them still standing because they're so hardy.
Yeah, they're known for being rot resistant. So that's why they use those. And you said it was actually a pretty good sized community, right?
Yeah, it was like 300 people like living in this area behind us. And I think that the pump that we'll show you here in a second from that we saw on one of our hikes actually pumped the water up from the spring to this community at one time, and then it originally, I think then it went to the ranch. But yeah, it's crazy to think that standing here around us was a community of 300 people with like a school and a cemetery and people that were working out here. They do warn you on this trail that you have to cross the creek multiple times. So this part looks relatively dry at the moment, but we'll see what the rest of it's like, because they said make sure that you can get your shoes wet. But this is really pretty out here. So cool. The rock is slick, and that's the other thing they warn you about, is making sure that you have good tread. I am doing this in my rain boots. I'm not sure that's recommended, but I didn't have my waterproof boots with me because I actually don't have waterproof boots at the moment, but that's another story. So anyways, I'm wearing my rain boots. We'll see if this was a smart idea or not, and I'll let you know what happens later.
On the other hand, I'm wearing my waterproof Keen hiking boots because I always do. Sometimes they're a little heavy and warm, but I just know I can walk anywhere with them. And they have really good treads, and that's important here because it sounds like this entire park is basically a bed of limestone rock. They told us most of the trails we would go on if we went today while it was raining would be quite slick.
You want me to...
Nope.
This is Ari trying not to fall while holding a camera and going up slippery rock.
Keen hiking boots work.
Not a sponsored code.
But could be.
Okay, this is where hiking in rain boots maybe wasn't the smartest. But I'd do it. Hey, if people can hike in their like Ufa Croc sandals in wherever that park was that we went on this mountain, I think I can do this in rain boots. People hike in all sorts of inappropriate footwear. All right, quick update. That yes, you can do the Spicewood Springs Trail in your rain boots. Well, at least I did for about a half mile of it. We had to cut the trail short because we had to get back for a cave tour, which we're now sitting in the car waiting for because it's downpouring rain and penny-sized hail. Well, potential for. We haven't seen it yet. So anyways, we're waiting that out because we have to apparently hike a half mile to this cave, and the guide didn't want to do it in the rain and the storm. So we're sitting here waiting for that, so we'll let you know how it goes. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to take the GoPro or if it's going to be too dark to see it, so we'll find out what happens with that later. More to come and to be continued. But anyways, I just wanted to circle back to say I did that hike in my rain boots. It was fine, but hiking shoes are probably the better recommended option. Well, we've reached the end of the trail, or at least as far as we're going to go, because we ran into a place where you have to cross, and it is just way too deep, too much water. It's too late, and I now really don't have the right shoes on because we came back to this trail to try to finish it after our cave tour because we just loved it so much. And I came back in my hikers because I knew that would be a better option, but unfortunately, now I really need the rain boots because I'm not crossing this part of the creek in my hiking shoes. But it was really pretty. I'm glad we at least came back this far.
I would say we got this far because you switched to your hikers. Yeah. I don't think your rain boots would have made it this far because it's a lot of rocks and pretty slick at times and muddy. So a great trail. I really liked this trail though.
This was the
Spicer Spring,
something spring, and it is cool. There's just a lot of little springs, a lot of little waterfalls. You are following it pretty much the whole way.
There's two of them that are, I think it's spicier. I'll figure it out and I'll put it on the screen so you know exactly which one we're on. But there's one that's the Springs Trail and one that's the Canyon Trail. The Canyon Trail apparently goes kind of up above the river.
Yeah, somewhere up there.
So you're like getting views supposedly of the river and the springs, whereas on this Springs Trail, you're literally walking through the springs and alongside. So that was really pretty.
And so far, we could completely do it without getting our feet wet because there was enough rocks or logs or low water to get through. But this one section, not going to happen. It's late in the day. We're hungry, so we're going to hike back and grab dinner.
Plus, they said they have mountain lions in this park, and since it's getting to be dinner time, I don't want to be out here when it's dinner time for the mountain lions.
Oh, yeah, we want to have dinner. We don't want to be dinner.
One of the great things about this park is the geology and the geography, and there are over 400 caves, apparently, in this state park, and we went into one.
Yeah, so we got to go on a little kind of, it wasn't a private tour, but there were only 5 of us. And, it's a paid tour that we had to set up in advance. But it was really cool. It's what they really call like Texas caving. And so when you think of going into caves, and we've shown you many of those videos before, like Mammoth Cave or Longhorn Caverns or even like Lehman Caves, you are just walking upright on a path that they have created for you. And you're seeing all the cool stalactites and everything. This was donning a helmet and a headlamp and knee pads and clothes that you don't mind getting dirty because you are actually going caving. Like you are climbing down between 2 little rocks and it's wet and muddy, and then you're getting on your belly and you're crawling on your belly, through the cave. And I think the tallest point in the cave, well, I could stand up, nobody else could. But most of the time you're squatting because it's, not very deep. And so you're actually getting truly the cave experience. And, it was probably about an hour and a half that we got to go. It wasn't super deep because it has to be accessible. But our tour guide was great. And he explained to us all the different, formations in the cave. We got to see a couple little bats that were taking up roost in there. The calcium deposits, and showed us how you can tell the difference between rock and formations, because if you hold your flashlight up to them and it kind of glows through, then you'll know that it's some sort of mineral deposit versus just rock. And so we just got to do a little bit of exploring, and so it was a really neat experience.
We did 7 miles today, you said?
Yeah, we just wrapped up 7 miles of a interesting loop. It wasn't the loop that we set out. Well, it was the loop that we set out to do this morning, but we accidentally did it in the backwards order than we set out to do because somebody misread the sign or actually didn't see the sign, and therefore we went in the wrong direction. But it all worked out.
And we heard coyote pups, kits. What are they called?
I don't know.
And that was because we technically went the wrong way from what you had originally set out to do this morning.
Yes. And by wrong way, it's a loop, and it was going to go around, and then there was a trail and then another trail. And so somehow we ended up going the other way around the trail. So we took a different trail to another trail. Anyways, we still did everything that we were going to do. We just did it in a different order.
And we liked all of them. That's the important part. Colorado Bend State Park has some great hiking trails. It's a good spot to spend a few days, and you could check out all kinds of different geology and geography and see all kinds of things here at this park.
The big thing here at Colorado Bend is Gorman Falls, and it's supposed to be this gorgeous, like 70-foot waterfall. So that's where we're hiking to. But we're going to take the long scenic route, of course. And so we're starting here at the Cedar Loop, and that's going to take us to the River Trail and another trail and to another trail. And eventually we'll get to Gorman Falls, and then we'll do some other trails, and we'll make a big loop, and we'll get back here eventually after like 7 or 8 miles this afternoon. I have it written down on the map where the ranger told me to go, so hopefully we'll find our way, but that's going to be our day 2 adventure here. We hit the end of the trail, and quite literally this time, because the sign even told us we hit the end of the trail. So here we are, and now we're going to turn around. But where is here?
We are at Gorman Spring, and this is Gorman Springs Trail. If you're going out to Gorman Falls, which is a big draw for this park, right? There's a side trail you can take for Gorman Spring, and it adds about a mile because it's a half mile in, a half mile out, but it's a great side trail, and it was totally worth it. I'm glad we did it.
You are following Gorman Spring, which starts here. The water seeps through the limestone path of least resistance. It bubbles up through the ground here, and then it creates a spring that heads to the Colorado River. And they said this is never run dry because it's all natural groundwater. And then it feeds the river, feeds the waterfalls, and people had set their ranches up along here, and they pumped water to the different things they had going out here to their ranches, because it's the only really good water source, and it was a trusted water source. So very important out here in the arid Texas landscape.
And a little historical note here is there is an old pump that one of the families had put in to pump water up to their ranch. So it's like, I don't know what era they said it was.
1922, I think.
Okay, 1920s. So that pump's been here for a while, and it had a lot of work to get up the hill and down to the ranch. But it's kind of neat to see that it's still here and that they've left it. That was an interesting piece of history to see. But yeah, if you're out doing this hike for the Gorman Falls, if you can do it, add on Gorman Springs. It was worth it.
This is really cool. We found Gorman Falls. I still don't know who Gorman was, but behind me or in front of me, I guess, are the 70-foot high Gorman Falls, and it's just gorgeous down in here.
And it's never run dry.
Never run dry. Let's try to keep it that way, which means conserve water, don't build more houses and infrastructure, be kind to the environment, and don't pollute. After we left Gorman Falls, we hit the river trail, headed back somewhere direction. We're going to get to our car eventually. And that was really pretty. You're hiking right along the cliff, right along the Colorado River. It's just gorgeous views this time of year with all the flowers and the trees budding. It's really, really pretty. And then somewhere along that river trail, you get to Gorman Cave, which is behind me. And for apparently centuries, years, whatever, they used to take people in here and go caving and on tours. But the bats started inhabiting the cave, and that's protected now because of the white nose syndrome that they're trying to keep from the bats. So they've got a big gate up in there now. And so you can only go in a little ways. You're definitely going to want a flashlight, headlamp, some kind, because it is super dark in there and super rocky. But you can go in at least a little bit, see that wall, check out a couple of the stalactites that are forming or still there on the ceiling. But that was well worth it. It was really cool to get in there and see that. It is a bummer that you can't go in further, but we definitely have to protect those bats because that white nose syndrome is really doing quite a mess to the bat population in the U.S.
Quite an adventure getting in and out of here.
Oh, well, at least the way we took, yeah, we have to go like up there, and then there's, you probably can't see it, but there's like a wire handrail that goes along. And man, there were two guys coming by here on bikes. I guess you can bike the river trail, but you get to this section, you have to like carry your bike and hang on to the railing and go around this cliff at the same time. I don't want to do that, but yeah, we have to go back up here. I don't know if there is another entrance maybe, but this is the bigger one, I guess. We'll find out. Anyways, we got down here. Now we got to go back up.
We're just coming off of Dog Lake Canyon Trail. Interesting trail. Kind of lots of different terrain, I guess I would say.
Yeah, it's rated as difficult on the map. I guess so. I didn't really think it was any more or less difficult than any of the other trails that we'd been on, or maybe we just have a different sense of difficult.
Maybe. I mean, other than River Trail, I don't think any of them are real easy around here.
No, but they're not ridiculously strenuous either. I mean, okay, we were going uphill because we came off of the river trail. If you were going the other way, it would be a little bit more slippery down because there were some gravel in spots.
Yep.
And it's limestone, so if it's wet,
yep,
I guess just keep that in mind.
There's places where there's some rocks to climb over. You got to watch your footing, that kind of thing. But it's a great trail either way, and it gets you to Dog Lake Canyon, which was beautiful. I didn't know what to expect, and we got out there, and it was just, I don't know, it's not huge, but it was just a really pretty vista.
It's just unexpected, kind of thing, as it says it on the map. It's an unexpected canyon in the middle of out here, and I think it would have fed the Colorado River at some point, and you can see pockets of water because it rained so heavy yesterday. I don't think it was ever flowing, but you can see where the water would have pooled and where water would have flowed at one time. So that was cool. Yeah, it was really pretty up there.
It was a nice hike. If you can fit Dogleg into one of your outings while you're here, it connects. We're about to go back on, is it Cedar Chopper Loop, and back to that trailhead, which is where our van is parked. So, and we came up from the river, so it must run between Cedar Chopper and the river trail.
Yeah, it's about 1.5 miles, I think, one way. So, but it's a good connector, I guess.
It's a very good connector. Downhill if you start at Cedar Chopper, uphill if you start at the river.
Yeah. Not really knowing what to expect about Colorado Bend State Park, other than we came here specifically to see Gorman Falls. Like, I want to give a shout out to my mom because she actually discovered this park online when we were doing research for their upcoming trip here. And unfortunately, we're not going to get to do this with my parents due to a leg injury that she has. And so she's not going to be able to do any hiking. But we wanted to come check it out anyways. And so, Mom, this video is for you because you didn't get to come see this. And this is like my new favorite park. Like, it was gorgeous. We loved like Spicer. What did we decide that was called?
Spicer Springs.
We still
Trail.
don't know. But it was amazing. And Gorman Springs Trail and the waterfall and the geology. And I think this is like my new favorite, at least favorite Texas state park, and probably ranks up there as one of my favorite state parks that we've ever visited. So I'm so glad that Mom found this online when she was doing research, even though she didn't get to come here.
It is a great getaway park, I think. If you're looking for some rustic camping, it's quiet. You want to get out on some really nice trails to see some different geography, to see some cool views. There's caves here. There's canyons. There's the Colorado River. There's a lot of different things to see from an environmental standpoint, from a nature standpoint. So if you get a chance, come on out yourself to Colorado Bend State Park. In the meantime, keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.
Day 2 at, where are we at?
Ludington. Just
No.
kidding. That was the joke years ago.
Yeah.
What park are we at? I have no idea. We've done 103.
If you haven't seen our Michigan State Park series, check that out. I'll put a link. Okay.